Hello, this is How To Bob, and in this video I'm going to unbox and set up the Hobart Handler 140 MIG Welder. So here we have the box with the welder in it, and let's see what we have inside. First we have the instruction packet, which includes the regulator and gauge, as you can see here. We have a test spool of wire. It's not a full spool of wire. We have a hose. And we have the regulator, which is packed in some cardboard. Go ahead and take that out. Set that aside for later on. Put the adjustment handle in so I don't lose it. Next we have the work clamp, or the grounding clamp. And that'll attach to the wire. I'll show you that in just a little bit. And then they give us a nice handy little gauge to measure the thickness of the metal that you will be welding. Could come in handy. And then some extra tips. Also included are the instructions, the warranty information, and a welding hose. And the gun. So let's cut these wire ties off here and get ready to put this welder together. I'm going to go ahead and unbox the actual welder itself. And this welder is not light. It's about 58 pounds. It's a very nice welder for a small platform welder. Good for around the house, farm, shop. Works very well. So I'm going to start out here with the ground wire, or the work clamp, and it comes with one little clamp on it, and what you do is unscrew the nut on the work clamp, slide the wire on the inside of the clamp, and then it comes through the top of the work clamp and into the nut, that's the bolt that's holding it on. And I'll go ahead and tighten that down, and that part of it will be done. We can move on to something else. Every little step here gets us closer to welding. So I'm going to open up the cover on the side, and you can see the drive mechanism here for feeding the wire. I'm going to go ahead and feed the leads, and you can see the leads go in here and they go up to the top, and then I'm going to feed my hose or my gun in, and it has to lock into place here, so I use the thumb screw to lock it into place. You want to make sure that's in tight, and then I'm going to hook up the leads at the top. Now the polarity on this is not important. Either one can go to either connector as long as they're connected real good. Now you can see here there's two different connections here. This will depend on what you're going to weld and if you are going to use a gas with your welder, so you have to read the directions to see which way you want to do it. It comes factory set for a flux core wire. So I'm going to go ahead and install my wire. Simply remove the nut and then pull the spool off. Now this spool is meant for a larger spool of wire, so I'm going to use a smaller one. As you can see here, I want to make sure which way it's turning, and it's going to go underneath, and it'll fit on without the adapter for the spool. Then I put the washer and the spring, which gives it some tension, and then I'm going to put my nut back on and tighten it up. I want to tighten it up just enough to give it some resistance, but I don't want to make it too hard so that the machine has to drag the spool around when I'm welding. Just enough tension so that it doesn't bunch up, and that should be about right. A little bit more maybe, and there we go. Now I'm going to take my wire, and the easiest way to do this to feed the wire is cut the end that's bent off, because you want a nice straight edge to feed through the tube the very first time. And then I'm going to push my release down, which will open up my feeder, and just feed the wire through. And there's a small little trough where the wire will ride, and once you get it all the way through that trough, you can push down the tensioner. And I found that you can rotate the tensioner, and I found that about 2 is right for what I do for the wire that I'm using. It's .030 wire. So now I can turn my welder on, plug it in, and hit the trigger button, and I'll wait, turn the speed up a little bit. I'll wait till the wire comes out the tip just a little bit. You can see it's feeding the wire, the spool's moving. I'm going to put a board down so that when the wire comes out it'll hit it, and I want to see if it'll actually feed it so that the wire bends around. That way I'll know I have enough tension on the feeder. Take just a minute to get the wire all the way out there, and here it is. You can see the wire came out. Now I haven't put my tip on yet because it makes it easier, so I'm going to go ahead and cut off the excess wire, pull my cover off, and now I can feed my tip on. It's a little bit easier to do it this way just because you're feeding the wire through the first time. I usually take the tip off. Okay, screw the tip in, just has to be hand tight. Then I can put my cover on, and I'm all set here. Cut the wire back a little bit, it's a little too long. Now I'm going to set up my argon tank. I have my gauge and regulator assembly, and it's going to go in here. Now I open up my argon tank to blow out any dust that might be in there, just a small blast of argon, and then you want to put the regulator and gauges on hand tight first. Make sure you don't cross thread it. Then I'll take my wrench and tighten it down pretty snug. I'll get my hose and I'll connect that to the welder. And again, I want to start that by hand, and then I'm going to use a wrench to come back in and get it good and tight. No Teflon tape is necessary. These are flared fittings. And that's all there is to setting up your Hobart Handler 140 MIG Welder. This is How To Bob. Thanks for watching.